is Sarah Gergel, and I work with the Living Archives team. And what we're doing is collecting stories of how COVID 19 impacted various communities in Mecklenburg County. Today is November 18th, 2022, and this week there are 127 reported cases of COVID 19 in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County area, which actually shows a bit of an increase, 23% increase over the last 2 weeks. However, we are both comfortable not wearing masks. And will you introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Mariena. I'm 23 years old. I am a black female. I have glasses. I have black passion twists that I need to do something with. And was there anything else that you needed to know?
Will you just describe what you're wearing today?
Oh, I'm wearing a black hoodie and some jeans.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Maria.
No
Thank you for this
problem.
time to connect and just share your story. How long have you lived in Charlotte?
Oh, I've lived in Charlotte since I was about 9.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm originally from California.
Okay, what
Yeah.
part of California?
Yorba Linda, California.
Belinda.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what brought your family out to Charlotte?
Price of living.
Yeah.
Because California is expensive.
Oh, yes.
Extremely.
Probably a ginormous difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My mom, she just describes it as like, when you're living there, you just do it. Yeah.
But you've been here for quite a bit, so you've probably seen a lot of transitions in the city.
So many.
Yeah. What is something that's kind of been stuck out to you about Charlotte?
I would say the overall growth of the city.
Okay.
I'm lived in Union County, 20 minutes outside of Charlotte for a good part of my childhood. Okay. And I recently went back there and I was like, there was nothing but trees over here. Why? There's a whole highway and me and my mother were talking about it. We were like, for the people who went to jail, before this transition, it you would come out and not know where you are. That was both good because we're building, the city's growing, wonderful. Bad because people who are stuck into their ways are very much so just dealing with the quick changes of everything.
I bet. So tell me, what do you do for a living?
I work at the North County Regional Library in the children's section.
Awesome.
Part-time right now, full-time soon. Hopefully we're manifesting.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. How long have you been at North County?
It makes a year last month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
1 year. That's incredible.
Yeah, I told everybody that if they fired me today, I would come back and volunteer. So
Hopefully there's going to be no firing.
Absolutely not, because you can't get rid of me that easily.
No, not at all. Why would we?
I'm like roaches. I always come back.
You're hilarious. So tell me, what is it that brought you into being a librarian and working with kids?
When I was younger, I spent all of my free time at the library,
Okay.
mainly in the comic book section. So when everybody's like, so what books do you like to read? I'm just like, comic books? But overall, I love children. Kids are my thing. They're a lot easier to understand, probably because everything is 1 + 1 is 2.
Okay.
It was always going to be that to a kid. And if they have questions, it's so easy. Yeah. I know some people aren't good with kids, but personally, it's
You're a natural.
Yeah. It's really strange because I'm always I tell everybody I'm going to be an auntie forever. Not because I got enough kids up here. I don't need.
Hey, I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. So you've been here for a year. And
Yes.
you work with the kids. Do you work with the teens too, or just the kids?
I'm moving more towards teens now.
Okay.
I actually volunteered with an organization called Inspire the Fire. So I was working with teens rapidly before the pandemic. But then pandemic happened, everything shut down. And I just didn't get to see my kids. And now all my kids who are personally they're getting ready to graduate. And I'm just I'm sorry, when did y'all get grown? Excuse me?
It's just this time flies, I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you. So tell me a little bit about your experience with the pandemic. What was that like for you?
It was, I guess I could sum it up by saying it was just one big transition.
Okay.
First, I was working at Old Navy, which tons of stories about that. And then they texted me and was like, "Hey y'all, so we're laying you off." I was like,
Text?
did my job just break up with me through text?
Oh
I
my
don't live for that. And it was funny because I do cosplay. So it was like, I was mid cosplay. I was having fun in my bedroom. It was like iconic. And then they were like, "Yeah, girl, you're laid off." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And everybody was like, "Angel, what are you going to do?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Wow.
I have no clue. And then from working there, I took off those like years because I was like, I'm not going back into the workforce because, you know, the Panda Express is outside. I'm not gonna do that. And yeah, so that was a big transition because I was heavy working, always working. So from going from working to just sitting at home, gave me a lot of personal time with myself. And then I started transitioning, which was so much fun. It was everything, honestly. It was good, but like bad because I knew all of the death that was going on outside. So it was like, personally for me, I'm blessed to have been living with my mother and also have a mother who was like on top of it. She was like, "Okay, so we need to get you filed for this and then fill out this document." I was like, whoa, I just got laid off.
Yeah.
And then to throw in the whole transitioning from male to female, that was a huge journey to take over a pandemic in which I could connect with people outside. So to have to like do that sort of alone, like and come to that realization, it was a lot.
Can't imagine.
It was a lot of self-discovery,
Yeah.
I will say. So I'm thankful because of the self-discovery. I'm sad about, the loss that we've had. And,
Yeah.
I don't really talk about the good things that came out of the pandemic because it just feels wrong, you know? When everybody's like, "My cousin died, my family is in shambles." I don't want to be like, well, I got to know myself more.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right, so I don't really talk about it.
That makes sense. But it's also your experience.
Yeah.
So hopefully you feel like this is a safe place where you can talk about it.
Absolutely.
No matter what your experience was. If
Absolutely.
it was positive or negative or a combination.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little bit about what did that transition look like for you personally the last 2 years?
So before that, I wasn't happy with myself, I will say. I looked at working so much and putting myself in so many different things and connecting with so many people that I didn't have time before the pandemic to really talk to myself and be like, so who is Mariena? Like, who are we? What are we doing? And once the pandemic happened, everything shut down. I had to sit with myself, which, it's different because my mom was in the house, but she was working, so I couldn't be all up in her face. So I was just in my room sitting like having these realizations. I also went through a breakup right before the lockdown. It was very interesting. A lot of hard stops. So my job breaks up with me through text. I end a relationship with someone who is overall toxic. And now I have to sit and basically grieve all of that loss alone.
Yeah.
There were some dark times, but I made it through it, luckily. And then, like a year into the pandemic, because, at first they were like, "Yeah, we're going to be in the house for 3 months." And I was like, 3 months? I can do that. And then we're extending it, and we're extending it, and we're extending it. So I was like, started talking to people on the internet because, you don't want to be too alone with your dark thoughts because that could go bad.
Yeah.
And then I met my current boyfriend during the pandemic, which was like, I wasn't expecting this to happen. I was fully going to go into my hot girl summer phase. Like, we're not going out. We're not dating. I'm not looking for that. But like, that was a really good thing that I found him when I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
So,
did you guys connect?
oh my God,
An
Tinder.
app or Tinder.
Tinder,
Okay.
which is like really funny to tell people like, yeah, we met on Tinder, because they're like, Tinder, like nobody works out on Tinder, and I'm like,
Hey. You're an
hey,
exception.
we made it out.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, really interesting time. Our first date was like weird because we couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So all of the things that I told him that I like to do, I was like, we can't do any of them because we're pandemicked. So we hung out at his house, which was like, as a woman.
Yeah.
But he made me feel very welcomed there and very safe. So I felt comfortable. But then after that, like a month later, he got COVID.
Oh no.
And I couldn't go and like take care of him. Because I'm like, I'm such a girl. Once I like you, I'm there. I'm going to take care of you. We're going to work it out. But to think about my mom who has asthma,
Yes.
she's high risk.
Yeah.
I don't want to get COVID. So like, let's all just chill. So I was like,
Sure.
unfortunately, I can't be there for you. But if you need to talk, we can. So he was just home alone that entire time. So it was a lot of stress for whatever time until he realized, hey, I don't have COVID anymore. And even then I was like, I'm not coming over. Take your time. I'm not. We got to be sure. You got to clean your house. Like, no.
100%. You're
Yeah.
thinking of others. That's so kind of you.
Absolutely. I had some people in my life who weren't as thoughtful of others. Yeah, just because they were like, the pandemic is made up and da 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 da. And I was like, girl, people are literally dying. And they were like, yeah, but I'm still outside though. And I was like, don't come to my house. My friend at the time, her dad, her mother, and her father all got COVID at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so overwhelming.
And it was right after my boyfriend had COVID. So it was like back to back.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And then once we started slightly opening up, I was like, I can't not be working anymore. So I had to find another job, especially since they were starting to stop the whole stimulus payments and things, which low-key, those things came in clutch. Like,
For sure.
like my credit card was paid off. Everything happened. It was just great for, bill purposes.
Yes.
Let alone the extra money I had to just, self-care because pandemic. It was great. Like I paid myself. Everything that I was worried about before the pandemic, those checks helped continuously. And then I started working at Lowe's, which, again, another journey. And there was a lot of people who were like, yeah, the pandemic isn't real. We're not wearing masks. And I was like,
Really?
very interesting enough.
That's so
Like,
interesting.
I was like, y'all, we're working. Like, we're in the public.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Let's have a little decorum and a little.
Yes.
But yet, no, they were like,
Respect for others.
yeah, they were like, no, the pandemic isn't real. It's a conspiracy theory. And yeah, I was like, literally, I can see the death chart right now.
Wow.
Like, and it's different. It's different because you know people who were affected with COVID.
Yeah.
And you know people who were like dealing with the effects of that.
Yeah.
And so for you to be like, it's a conspiracy theory, it's not real. I'm like, girl, my grandpa died, please. like let's calm down.
Yeah.
Which was a lot for my mom because she was never close with her dad, but still, that passing.
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I'm fine because I didn't get to, I didn't know him.
Okay.
I was more so concerned about my mother.
Yeah.
And she, even though she was like my rock during the pandemic, it was very interesting for me to be like,
Bet.
I see you being strong for me, but right now you need someone to be strong for you.
Yeah.
And I'm covered. I'm good.
Yeah.
So what do you need from me? It was very interesting. We got a lot closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
Overall, that's really interesting. And then, I came out to my mom about my transition, which it wasn't how I wanted to come out to her, I will say. My friends kind of outed me. They were like, yeah, girl, she's trans. And I was like, thanks for telling my mother my business. But overall, it was her overall support.
Okay.
She was like, because I had that moment of, oh my God, I'm trans when I was at work.
Okay.
Because, the pandemic really made it so I couldn't hide from me anymore, if I could put it like that. I couldn't just be like, oh yeah, I'm just working. It's okay. I'm going to work. I'm going to do this, da, 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 da. Like, when you have nothing but time to sit with yourself and see the things that you don't like, but see the parts that you love, it's very interesting. And I had my breaking point at work. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's not, like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
So when my mom was like, what do you need from me? Immediately. Like, I love you. What are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen? I felt so supported at that time. It was like game changing. Yeah, so that was very helpful. And then, I told my boyfriend, he was like, cool. Like, it was like, it could have went so bad.
Yeah.
Because I've been on the internet. I grew up with it.
Yeah.
So I've had nothing but time to see horror stories. My family put me out. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then me thinking that on top of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So many layers.
I can't imagine.
So having that support was,
Wow.
I don't know where I would be without that support.
Yeah.
So that was like phenomenal.
That's so beautiful to hear.
Thank you.
And that you got to experience that.
Yeah.
Like you said, not everyone gets to experience that.
Not at all. Like, especially, I do have friends who have came out to their family, and it was not the same experience. And I was always just like, they were like, yeah, my family is like this and that and this and that. Like, what was it like for you? And I was just like, again, I don't want to feel like I'm bragging. I don't want to be like, yeah, my mom was like super accepting and immediately called doctors to see how we could start this. Like, I don't want to do that because, you're having a moment where your family is not being supportive. And I don't want to put it out there that my mother is great. But yeah, the pandemic really answered a lot of questions for me. A lot of the friendships that I went into the pandemic having, I no longer have them. It was, it has its pluses and minuses. Because, like, the pandemic, I would say, the pandemic was terrible. Because grand picture, grand scheme, suffering, loss, sickness, bad. The lockdown was a flashlight, I will say. Because, when you're going to work, school, trying to better yourself, there's no time or time that I don't want to have to just sit and be like, so who are you? And when you're 24/7 by your, like, alone in all ways in your room, and then you have to sit with yourself and be like, so what's going on? What's the deal? It does make some things click. It does make some things also realize that relationship that I'm having with people is not what I need. That was a very hard question for me because, again, I'm a loyal girl.
Yeah.
Once we're friends, we're family. We're sisters. We're in here. We're in this together. And then once I realized this relationship is not adding anything to me, if anything, it's harming me.
Yeah.
And the way the friendship ended, it was tragic. But overall, I think for me to be who I am right now, I needed that time to sit with myself. Although I wish it didn't take a pandemic for me to find my spiritual journey in myself. It was needed. I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk about it if I didn't have this time. I can't imagine who I would be without that time to sit with me. Now, it did affect my art heavily. Because I do a lot of stuff, a list of things.
Okay.
I didn't write for 2 years.
Wow.
There was nothing, I couldn't pour myself out into my pages the way I used to. Because before, I write monologues for shows and things. So they were like, Angel, can you just do us a monologue? And because I wasn't reflecting on myself, writing it all out was how I got it through. But when I'm facing this mirror and looking at myself and being like, so what's going on here? Is this adding to you? How are we? This, and this. It was hard to write about it in paper to put it on stage for somebody else. So 2 years, it was really a time for me to sit down and not tweak and edit my story, tweak and edit the way I wanted it to be told. Because when you're writing for a show, I can romanticize things, I can glamorize it, I can make it shiny and pretty and put it on a stage. First of all, there's no stage. We're locked down. Secondly, it would be a disservice for me in the journey that I've been on to romanticize and take all of and add glitter on a bad situation, because it's not authentic. So I didn't write, I didn't rap, I didn't sing. Everybody, when they saw me, they were like, so when are you going to drop some music? When are you going to... Girl, I'm not.
Well, thank you so much, Mariena, for sharing about your experience.
No problem.
That's so crazy to hear about your journey of self-exploration and just how having that support system meant the world to you.
Yeah.
It's so important. I'm grateful that you had that experience.
Yeah, I'm grateful too. I know, like, being grateful for a pandemic is not a good thing, but being grateful for the things that came as an effect to the pandemic is better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Before we started our interview, we did a little activity called a hand map. Is there anything from your hand map that you would like to share with us?
I think I want to talk about my mother.
Okay.
My mom's name is Faye Lee. She's iconic. I love her. She got COVID in the house. We were right across the hall from each other. So she's an on-the-go woman.
Okay.
I'm like, Mom, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? What you doing? So for her to be across the hall and everybody like, so we heard she got COVID. I'm like, we gonna be all right, because she gonna be in that room. And it helped solidify our relationship, that we can lean on one another. Yeah. And I will say that is the biggest thing I am so grateful for the outcome of the pandemic was for. Because I don't think beforehand, I didn't take her for granted because I always loved her. I didn't understand how deep her love for me went. And that was the greatest thing that came out of this whole experience.
That's so beautiful.
Yes.
I'm so glad. Just as a final question for you, I guess, is do you have any stories or experiences over the last 2-3 years that you would like to share with us?
Oh my gosh, yes. I have so many. I'll just give you one, though, because I know, like, time and things. I remember I was working. This is the fun story I tell everyone. I remember mid-pandemic. Okay. I was, we were starting to open up. We were in that weird stage where we're going to close down again. We're going to open up again. We're going to close down again. So I went back to working at Old Navy for like a couple months. And I remember when we opened back up, there was this family that came in. And, I'm the only one. They always put me in the fitting room because that's where I live. Yeah. Clothes, fashion, I'm on it. And there was this girl who came in, and she was like, her and her mom were like arguing. Okay. Very aggressively about like clothes for when like school happens and like things like that, because they were talking about going back to school. Okay. And she was like, I don't have any clothes to wear. So the mom took her to Old Navy, as you do, and you could tell the daughter was just over it. She was just drained overall. We've been through 5 stores. Mm-hmm. I've got it. Mm-hmm. And the mom was like, well, do you like this? The daughter was like, no, I don't like it. I'm tired. I don't like it. I'm tired. So she kept throwing clothes at me. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's take a minute. I'm like, I know you don't know me. I'm talking to the mother. I'm like, I know you don't know me, but I need you to trust me. She said, what do you mean? I'm just tired and this. I'm like, I understand. So you sit down. I'm going to help her. We're going to get you out of here real soon. Mind you, I got to do all of this distance. I'm a touchy-feely girl. So I hold hands. We talk. We get into each other spiritually. I'm like, you sit here. Ain't nobody coming in through here. I know you're stressed out because this is the first time you've been out since the pandemic. We going to make this fast. Mm. So the daughter sees me and she's like, so what is this girl going to walk up and tell me now? I'm like, how are you? She's like, what? I'm like, how are you? She's like, I'm tired. And I'm like, I understand. But listen, the longer that you say that you don't like something, the longer we're going to go through these stores. And I'm like, yeah, she's been telling me that. And I'm like, I know she has, but has she asked you what you like? She's like, no. So I say, okay, I have ideas. Let's talk about it. She's like, I like dresses, but I'm so tired of it. I'm not this little girl anymore. I want something that'll help me move. So I went and I was like, I'm going to walk around. We're going to pick some things and I'm going to come back and we're going to make it work. The daughter, I gave her this cute jumpsuit. It was red. Mind you, I wanted the jumpsuit. So really,
I love it.
Ooh, really, the Lord was having me be such a blessing that day because I was like, oh, I wanted to buy that one. It was the last one. So I was like, put this on. I was going to get it. But you know what? You're having a day. It's the first, school's about to open back up, and I know that you're going to want something. She was like, okay, we'll try it. She comes out, and she is shining, glowing. The mom's like, do you like it? She was like, I love it. Aww. And I was like, you see how easy that was? She was like, yeah, and you listened, and I was like, sometimes what we need to learn during the pandemic and what we've taught us is the things that are stressing us out and are making us yell. We need to sit, step back, take a minute, collect, and go forward. Because then we'll find the destination. She walked out with like 5 coats, 5 outfits. And the mom was like, thank you so much. We would have been in here all day. And I was like, no problem. Come back and see us. She came back and asked for me every time she came in the store.
I love that.
Yes. I was like, oh, my little regulars.
Such a beautiful story.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Is there anything else you wanted to share before we finish up?
I could talk all day. So it's probably good. Oh, I do remember this one family that came in. I was at Lowe's at the time. I'm not a Lowe's girl. I'm not hardware. If I ever go back, I'm going back to clothes. There was this family, and she came in, and they were expecting a baby.
Okay.
So me, I love kids. I'm asking the questions. They're answering the questions. I'm apparently like, Angel, you're the only one who's like talked to us and made us feel like we weren't a bother. I was like, of course. They come back in, and the woman is in a wheelchair. I'm like, girl, what you done did to yourself? She's like, I lost the baby. I was like, oh no. She was like, yeah. I have these moments with people where I talk to them because you never know what somebody's going through. So I sat with her and I said, it's not that it's not a right now. It's not yet. Super spiritual. I was like, it's not a no. It's a not yet. You're going to try again. going to be okay. It doesn't feel like it right now. I know you're tired. You came in this store for light bulbs, but we're going to have a one-on-one together. It's going to be great. And when you come back, you gonna let me pick the paint for your baby's room because that baby gonna be fly. They left that store and they were like, Angel, you are the only one in here that stops and talks to us and sees what's going on. Because when we came in here, people were being so rude to us. And I was like, you never know. You never know. Honestly, before then, I could speak on that because before the pandemic, I was just like, okay, what do you need? Okay. So if I can say anything to anybody, stop, take a break, and listen. Because listening is always key.
Truer words haven't been said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you
Of course.
so much. We appreciate you.